Well, good afternoon, everyone. As you already know, my name is Sha-Kiya Gadson, and I am the owner and curator of the ListNing project. And today I have a special guest with me. This gentleman has helped me through a lot of things, and he didn't even know it. But I wanted to make sure that I got Mr. D. Jones, the owner of If This Mic Could Talk podcast, as one of my important guests to sit and chop it up with him and, get a male's perspective on life in general. Um, we've had a lot of discussions behind the scenes, but I'd like to bring them to the forefront because I feel like his perspective would be very useful to a lot of men out there that are looking to start with their entrepreneurial ventures while also being a father and a professional. And so, welcome, D. Jones.
I appreciate you. Thank you. First and foremost, let me just say, it's different being on the other side. So I know recently I had started a series on my show where I had like the first time ever, and however many episodes it was, 400 some odd episodes, but it was the first episode where I wasn't on the episode, where I had you and three other women on the show. And that was like this is different. And so like, this is, every time I'm on somebody else's production, it's also different. Cause it's like, I'm so used to doing all the, you know what I'm saying? To be able to sit back and just like,
take it in a little bit and drink
like,
your
you know what I'm
water.
saying? It's like,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? So I thank you for allowing me to have a seat at your table tonight, for sure.
Absolutely. I wouldn't have anybody else. Did I do you Did I do a good service here? Was it top notch? Because
it is top. It is top notch. I'm saying I love the clubhouse. I love the aesthetic. I love the setup. You know what I'm saying? I'm real big on presentation, and the camera is clear, the mic is clear, so I'm good.
Okay. So let's get started. I'm real big on respecting your time.
Yeah, for sure.
So I started this project as a way to get men's perspective on life. I don't feel like there is enough honest, safe spaces for men to really dive deep into what it is that you actually go through, whether it be day to day or future endeavors that you're looking to get into. Um, where would you say you've had the biggest hurdle in terms of being a man?
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Transparency out the gate. Cool. I like
Yes.
it. So, I think the biggest hurdle, from being a man, I'll say this, right? So, previously in life, my biggest fear was like being super successful, having everything I desire, everything money can buy, what have you, but just not having nobody to share life with. That was my fear. Been blessed enough now that's no longer my fear, but like sometimes as a man, my fear now is feeling like either what you do is not enough or feeling like you as a person are not enough.
Okay.
And so I think, if I'm answering the question correctly, like you're asking me like, say the question one more time, Richard.
What has been like your
biggest hurdle? Biggest hurdle of fears. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so that just, I think, telling my age, I'm 39 years young, right? And so I think growing up, you saw a huge, what's the word? A huge like tide of women who were just super loyal and dedicated to the man for just him being her man.
Okay.
And I think over time, I'm trying to think if I can try to like throw an age out there, maybe mid 20s, late 20s to now, the tide has changed where not all, I never use absolutes, but a lot of women, it's more so what you can do as the man that makes them feel fulfilled. And so I think for me, like that hurdle of having the confidence of knowing that you are enough no matter what tax bracket you're in, no matter, what you can do, no matter, what I'm saying, all these different things that men think about. And I think one of the biggest lessons I had to learn was that men, and I always say this on my show, it's crazy, but I had to learn this, men and women are completely wired differently.
Absolutely.
The way that y'all think and see things is completely opposite of the way that we think and see things. And so, and I think, a very famous phrase you always hear is, I'm my own worst critic. I think a lot of times men critique in themselves so heavily. They put so much pressure on themselves based upon what we see and hear. You know what I'm saying? And so, because we are black and white creatures, we're not super complex. a lot of times like that gets us in trouble because the woman is more complex. She, has there, to get from A just to B, there's a lot of little lines between A and B. For a man, it's just A B. You know what I'm saying?
So, okay, so that brings up two things for me. So I hear that a lot with men where they say men are not complex. I don't believe that to be true.
Well,
I believe that
let me clarify. I think we're not as complex. You know what I'm saying? Like I think there's more times than not where a man is just simple minded. Like it's just black or white. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times, more often than not, for women, there's a lot more colors between the black and the white. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot more between like, you know, details.
Because you all do a lot of your thinking and emotional calibrating in the background, and where women do it while they're in the moment.
Again, being honest and transparent, I think a lot of times for, men, speaking for myself included, like I don't think men feel confident, safe, or even secure enough to embrace their emotional side.
Okay.
Because of the reaction or lack thereof from their counterpart, whether it be a current mate or a previous mate or even family growing up. That trauma is something that they may not even realize is there. And so they lack the, I guess, the confidence and know how to express the emotions. So I think they kind of program themselves to just be one track minded, boom, like boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. And I agree with that a lot because a lot of men that I run into, they say, nah, we're just this simple as A or B. But when you think about all of the time that they spend in solitude, thinking, and really just basically trying to program themselves to not feel outright and in person, it's like, no, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're actually very complex. You're very emotional, but you just have to find a safe space to do it.
It's like shopping. If a man, I'm gonna use Walmart because Target is against the rules.
Okay.
If a man goes to Walmart 9 times out of 10, he already knows what he's going to Walmart for. He's walking in, he's grabbing the basket if he needs the basket. If he can carry those 3 things in his hand, he'll carry them in his hand. He's walking in, he's going straight to aisle 4, 10, and 12 to get those 3 things. He's going straight to the checkout line and he's out.
And he's getting out of there.
Right. Women will go in there knowing they only need one thing, a t-shirt. A solid red t-shirt for a spirit day at work.
I feel like
they're gonna grab a basket. They're gonna grab a basket. They're gonna first of all not even go straight towards the clothes. They're gonna walk down all the grocery aisles, see what's on sale, see what new flavor of candy is out, and the candy. Gonna do all the aisles and shopping. Then they'll finally make it over to the other side of the store with all the health products and the body washes and the hair, new EOS lotions and body washes. Then 45 minutes later, come back to the clothes. So now, like as I'm saying, it's more detailed like that.
But what about even in what you just disclosed? What about the idea of really just taking in the moment of just perusing whatever store that you're in? I understand getting in there and getting out, but I feel like a lot of guys actually don't take in like just the idea of just being present in the moment. Like it's got to be in out. It's got to be functional. It's got to be logical all the time, and you miss out on so many things by being that straightforward with everything.
I received that. I just think in that particular example, right? So I'm gonna try to use it and like apply it to just everything else in life. Excuse me, but I use me. If I walk into the store again before I left the house to go to the store, I already knew what I was going to the store for.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like, okay, Walmart has 30 lanes. Only 4 of them are open. You might have 2 self-checkout lines that are broke down or only take cash or whatever the situation is where you know what I'm saying, sitting here struggling. So for me, it's like, okay, I know I'm going in the store for body wash.
Okay.
I'm going to park on the side opposite
where
of grocery.
The body wash is.
Go in there, get the body wash, boom shaka like a bam bam, scan it, bag it if need be, and get to the car and go. Nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with me going because that was my agenda, right? On the other hand, for women, some women, they might go to the store for the same body wash. You know what I'm saying? EOS is some great stuff, by the way. Go get the same body wash, and when they go in there, they're like, you know what? They might just drive to the other end and park by the grocery because they also ran out of hot sauce, right? And so, where the hot sauce is low. So they go on over there, or they just drove over there to the park, didn't realize it, walk inside. Knowing they have to go way across town, aka the other part of the store, to get the body wash, they decide to, like you said, peruse and just enjoy the moment. Now, for me, it's like, okay, like, neither one is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Neither one is wrong, but it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, our minds are just like, I came here for this, this, and this. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I came here for this, this, and this. Like, and I think, I think it's also case by case, because again, it's like, if a man is trying to, he went to church with his family, what have you, football's gonna come on. Like, he knows we have to go to the store. I'm trying to see the game. Like, we trying to move, get it out. You know what I'm saying? Get back to the crib. As opposed to if she is cooking and y'all are both hosting people at the house, but she's, oh shoot, I got time. I threw this turkey in the oven. Let me go to the store for the stuff. She also knows she has to hurry to get back to the house. I think it's also case by case. If she has time to peruse, she'll peruse. He might peruse, but I don't think either one of them is wrong.
Okay. So with that being said, we kind of started off with the fear that kind of impacted you. Right now, you are embarking on growing your brand and your podcast. And yesterday, I did an episode where I was talking about men and transitioning. You stated that you have, embarked on, a relationship of sorts. So I don't know how much you put out there for the world, but you no longer have to worry about whether partnership is in your cards.
Right, for sure.
How do you feel about the idea of men when they're going through major transitions having a partner? And has that been something that you found could be a hindrance because you're choosing to have a partner while you're going through this major transition?
And just trying to understand, when you say transition, like, just help me understand exactly what you mean with the transition part again.
The transition part being you are growing
like a business.
You're growing
part.
A business. Okay. You're growing your brand. At something some point, the goal is to make this your life. Mm-hmm. And when I say transitioning, you have to dedicate a certain amount of time, effort, emotions, funding, everything into this. Is this a good time, or have you found like maybe kinks in while you're doing this, embarking on a relationship?
Right. Shout out to the fiance, by the way.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying, so I'll say this. So I've made mistakes during exactly what you said in embarking on this journey, trying to grow a brand, but also like transition as far as like, it's two transitions. Transitioning as far as the brand, making the brand a household name, but also having somebody with you, making sure they're respected, they feel, appreciated, all those different things. So, I think you're asking what's the hard part about it? What's the?
Do you think that two major transitions at the same time, will one have to take a back seat?
Perfect. I don't think one will have to take a back seat. I'll use this for example. Let's say this man is trying to, let's say he's trying to build a company. He's trying to build a t-shirt business, right? And currently he's making t-shirts, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and also on weekends when he can. And then he meets this lovely young lady in his life who he's trying to, bring on this journey. She loves him, he loves her, so forth. They're trying, he's trying to grow two different things, his brand and his life. You know what I'm saying? And he gets to a point where he's like, you know what, like, I need to stop doing the t-shirt business so frequently. In fact, let me just put it down and go on a sabbatical for a while. I'm just not do it for 6 months, right? I'm gonna just focus on my relationship. I'm gonna focus on not, doing t-shirts as much. Just literally give her the attention that I can outside of just everyday work, right? One of two things will happen. She will either just accept him putting his dream on hold, or she will come to him and say, and before I can get the second one, I'll say this. Sometimes that dream has to be put on hold, for a temporary amount of time to focus on her. I think the more I think about it, multitasking is a very hard thing to do. You can't give more than one thing, therefore the undivided attention.
Right.
Or the other thing that might happen is she might say to him, "Hey, honey dumpling, you're really, really good at making these t-shirts. I believe your business is going to grow into an amazing business. I don't think you should stop doing your t-shirt business. Maybe we can, cut down from Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and some weekends to just doing it on Mondays and Wednesdays, or maybe just on weekends. You know what I'm saying? But you need to continue to do the business so that you can continue to have support, continue to build and grow the company. Just stopping it altogether is not going to help you do that. Now, you know what I'm saying? And everybody should have their thing that they are working towards, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, they say like, you don't lose your individuality because you're in a relationship. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that statement, but you know what I'm saying? Everybody has their thing that they're into. So I do think that, those two worlds can exist. I think that it's sometimes just whatever's convenient for the relationship.
Okay. So knowing what I know of you, you're very much relationship focused. Like when it comes to the aspect of you having a partner or a spouse, like they come first. And so I'm curious.
Or you talking the totem pole and stuff like that? That's how I say.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes. Gotcha. Absolutely. And so I'm curious as to, because I feel like a lot of men feel like they have to make that decision. You are willingly choosing to make that. So I'm just getting your perspective on it. When men feel like they have to make that choice to choose their partner over a dream because maybe they don't feel like their partner will support it or they're going to impact that in some way. Where do you find like the resentment could come in if, say, like you decide, or not necessarily you, but a man decides, I'm going to go full throttle with this relationship, but now the momentum that I had on my life dream is kind of stifled, or like, because time is the great killer or creator. So if you take too much of a pause, then it creates this gap, and maybe you're not as high. Like, how have you factored all of those things into what you're doing?
So I'll say this: I've seen a few people in the city doing exactly what I'm doing, podcasting, got a relationship, and I've seen those same podcasts take, sabbatical or break or just end. I don't know if it's because of the relationship, but they don't already do the podcast. I think what it is a lot of people need to have those tough conversations before even embarking on the commitment. And remember what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, I'm gonna use the water bottle just to create a visual. Me and water bottle meet. I'm interested in water bottle. She's interested in me. At some point, we need to have a conversation. I can tell water bottle what my current frequency is in life, what I'm working towards, what I'm looking for. Because that comes up sometimes. What are you looking for? Usually people just talking about the relationship, long-term friends with benefits, friends, whatever, right? They don't go into the other web pieces like career, children, religion, whatever else. You know what I'm saying? They just focus on that part. I think those other web pieces are important. You know what I'm saying? If you are looking for, if you are focusing on your career, like that's ahead of a relationship. You gotta you need to tell that person. Say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like I know somebody in my family, and I asked him, I said, hey, when you gonna get married? You know what I'm saying? You gonna have your kids and stuff. He was like, man, I ain't gonna lie, like my career is number one right now. That's what I'm focused on. Okay. So like anybody he's with has to understand that his career is first, and then the person that he's with might come into getting some time and or his kids or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, but his career is number one. One show I kind of got into recently, Pop the Balloon and Find Love.
Oh, terrible show.
Yeah, it has its pros and cons, but so there was a gentleman coming down, and they always ask a question or whatever, and he was like, right now, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That was his question, and so he had like 4 women left or whatever, and they asked the question, or they answered the question, and in his mind, of course, he's looking for a type of answer. He was hoping that they would say marriage, children, whatever. This one woman was like, right now I'm just focusing on building my business. I'm in the real estate. I want to have, a web of people underneath me and so forth. And he was like, do you have anything like as far as like relationship that you want to add in there? She's like, no, I'm focused on my career right now. So he popped her. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was saying. Like having that conversation, even in that short moment, he was able to determine we
You're
are
not
on
on
two
one,
different frequencies, and no matter how fine or attractive you are, this is not going to be a match because I'm trying to go here right now and you're trying to go here right now. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So do you think that there's ever a place or a space where you put a pause on that? Like not break up or,
The relationship?
yeah, but just say, you know what? I respect you and I love you enough to say right now is not the time for us to go 100% in this relationship. Like we can still keep in contact, but I respect your life journey enough to say, you know what? I want you to pursue this thing so that you're not walking around here resentful or feeling like you weren't able to, complete your dream because we are together or, like how do you feel about that?
I ain't gonna lie. For me, I think it's hard to imagine or in any relationship. I think it's I want to say weird. I'm gonna stop saying weird. I think it's different. To say, you know what I'm saying? To say, okay, said partner, we need to take a break because what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, if two people are in a committed relationship and they take a break, does that mean, oh, okay, while I'm doing this said thing over here, like, we're on a break? So does that mean just do what you want to do as we're not together? Does it mean I just see you less? Does it mean, don't go smack bellies with nobody? Like, what does it mean? And I think because there's so many unknowns and, you know, technically, if you're on break, you're on break. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're at work and you go on your lunch break, do you do any work? Most people don't. You know what I'm saying? So I can't, if you transform that and can correlate that to a relationship, you can't say I'm on a break and still expect relationship type demeanor and aura when you're on a break. So I think for me, it's like if you feel like you need to take a break, then it's probably best to just walk away from the relationship. You know what I'm saying? Now, if it's meant to be, the paths might cross again. You know what I'm saying? The paths might not cross again. Look at Nelly. He's now married or engaged to.
You know what? I have my own opinions on that particular relationship.
Well, I mean, so he's married now to Shanti. They're together.
They're together. They've had a child.
Yeah. So his ex. She came out a couple weeks ago and said, on social media, she was like, that's how he ended up getting back with Ashanti because they were together for years, like 5 years, 6 years. She broke up with him and said, like, like I'm gonna just break up with you. I'm gonna let you do your thing, and if it's meant to be, then we'll come back together. Mm-hmm. And she basically, like I just said, she went on a break, and that's whatever, and he kind of found his way back to Ashanti. And so basically,
they went on a break because what she said, we can go our separate ways because she was aspiring for marriage and he wouldn't marry her. Mm. So she was like, you know what, let's give this a break. And he went and
married somebody else.
He didn't marry her. He just got her pregnant.
Well, I mean, he went with somebody else. But that's my point though. Again, like, remember, this even kind of correlates to the very first thing you asked me. Remember how I said men are more just black and white, women are more complex. In her mind, let me give him some time and see if this break and the fact that he might lose me might make him want to get with the program because we've been together so many years he hasn't put a ring on it. Mm-hmm. And his mind was like, I'm with you, I'm loyal to you, I'm dedicated to you. You want me to move on your timeline, which is really not fair. Okay. And so because I didn't move on your timeline, you decided to have a break. So now I ain't going back there. I'm gonna just move forward. My mom even told me, she said, Daniel, in life, never go backwards. Okay. She's like, if y'all don't work out, keep going that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, now, sometimes people do go back, but even my mama told me that, keep going forward. What if Nelly's mom told him the same thing? And his mindset is, I'm going to just keep going forward. I ain't going back. She broke on me, that's it, move forward.
Do you feel like men know outright whether they are going to marry a woman or if their intentions are, I see myself with this person long term? Do you think that they know that ahead of time and some of them just string women along? Or do they really not know and I'm waiting for this one thing to happen for me to decide you are the appropriate one to do this with?
Excellent question. I'm trying to make this as short as possible. So I'm gonna say this. I saw this video earlier today. This man who was at church, he was talking, and he said, men, how many of you in this church right now knew that your wife was the one within 8 months of being with her? All these men raised their hand. He goes, how many of you in 7 months? How many of you in 6 months? Kept going right down. When you got to 1 month, 90% of the men still had their hands up.
Oh, wow.
And so his point was, men know quickly if this is wife. Men know really, really quickly, like, if that's the person they want to spend their time with. And I think, what happens is no matter how confident a man is, it's a very gut wrenching thing to ask a woman to marry you and know now that you are combining your life with hers. You are responsible for providing and protecting her, any children that y'all may have. That's a big thing. You know what I'm saying? It's a really, really, really big deal. And so I think because, again, it's the man proposing to the woman, it's the man making that decision. Women don't always understand that part of it. They just know, like, I'm ready. And so because they don't feel that pressure on the other side, they're like, it's been 2 years, it's been 3 years, it's been 4 years. And for him, he might be thinking like, man, do I even have the money to get her a ring yet? Do I, we still have some issues that we've been arguing about some, little simple stuff. We got to work out these kinks. Like, am I going to be good enough for her? You know what I'm saying? Like, do I trust her? Does she trust? Like all these little things that he's thinking about, and she's thinking about the big picture. Like, regardless of what we're going through or what flaws are presented in front of us, I know I want to be with you, marry me. He's thinking, I want to marry you, but I want to make sure that I'm right for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, how many times a woman says, I don't care what kind of ring he proposed to me with, just give me a ring. It could be a ring pop. Sounds good. Sounds amazing.
Nobody's really going for that.
Yeah. But if he proposed to you with a ring pop, you're going to feel salty. I just saw a video last week. This man went out here, spent good hard earned. I think he spent like $300 on a ring, and went to a restaurant. I think they're at Red Lobster. He proposed to this woman. He been doing it for like 2 years, 3 years. He proposed to her. She said, at Red Lobster, really got up and said, no, I don't want to marry you. So imagine all the preparation he did trying to make this sweet moment, and she said no because of whatever reason. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's two different minds.
But do you think that men know that ahead of time? I feel like
that she's gonna say yes or no.
Yeah.
Well, I think again, no. As I said, no matter how confident that man is, it's still a dumb wrenching thing. You can go in here with like him, go in here like, okay, yeah, like we talked about marriage because we probably talked about it at some point. I know she told me she would like to marry me. I know that we talked about we could see ourselves being together, marrying each other. But what if she mad at me today and I decide to ask her to marry me? Or what if I did something and she ain't told me how she mad at me yet? At any point in time, or what if I propose in a way that she don't like? You know what I'm saying? Every year I see, we talked about on my show before, women have said, don't propose to me on Valentine's Day, that's too typical. But he's like, I'm going to do it because it's going to surprise her on Valentine's Day. But he asks her on Valentine's Day, she's mad and says no. I'm saying it doesn't matter how confident he is, it's still a fear of what if she says no. And I'm going to tell you this too, most men, if she says no, she going to have to ask him because he ain't going to ask her no more.
Okay, so let's go with that. What do you think about women asking men to marry them? I think that is tacky. I'm sorry, I can't get with it.
I think men gotta learn to leave some stuff to the women, and the women gotta learn to leave some stuff to the men. In my opinion, fellas, let the women paint their nails. Women, let the man propose. You know what I'm saying? Like, some stuff is just ordained, in my opinion, for men, and some of it's ordained for women. So, I can understand a woman's mindset of like, he's taking longer than I want. I'm gonna ask him, whatever, sure. But let the man do it. Now, I will say, I saw this one thing that was pretty interesting. I haven't determined if I think it was right or wrong. But this man asked this woman to marry him. She said yes. And then like a month later, they were just out somewhere. She set it up real nice. She asked him to marry her as well.
Okay.
And when everybody was like, why? Like, what did you do that for? And she was like, well, he made me feel really, really special. And women, when it comes to weddings, everything is almost focused on the woman. You know what I'm saying? The dress, the gown, the colors, everybody stands up when she walk in. Some people sitting down when he walk in, all kinds of stuff. And she's wanting him to feel the same type of specialness that she did. So she asked him.
I don't see there's too much.
I didn't think there was nothing wrong with that because he already asked her, but just the initial engagement proposal, just let him ask. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right. So you have a child, you have a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Would you want your child's potential person to be established already or in a state of transition when they decide to marry your child?
Meaning like financially as brand artist, right? Man, this is a great question. So I will say this. I think it's unfair for a woman to require a man to be fully established. For one, if she's not fully established, and just it's, I think it's unfair because I think in life, like, we're all still trying to get established. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's just a weird or different mindset to be like, okay, well, like, you know, if I'm 35 and I have this, this, and this, he should have this, this, and this too. That's not everybody's story. Everybody's story is literally different. Um, I think, you know, potential, everybody hates the word potential nowadays, but I think potential is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Like, and at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, whether you're a person who believes in God or, you know, not, like, nothing, if like for me, my mindset is nothing going to happen until God says so. When it's his will for it to happen, nothing's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do, how many degrees you have, the doors ain't going to open until he ready the doors open. Okay. Even somebody who's not, you know what I'm saying, religious, like, even if you base it on luck, the luck ain't going to happen until the luck happens. You know what I'm saying? So, how many, I know so many people right now got bachelor, master, and PhD and still looking for a job in that field. You know what I'm saying? Like, the doors open when they're going to open. So, you know, like, what are we really talking about when we say, you know, established? What are we talking about when we say, you know, the transition? Like, what are we talking about when we say being fully potenched? You know what I'm saying? Like, it reminds me of episode 2 of my show. I never forget this. There was a woman on the show and she's like, ladies, don't date no broke niggas. And so I was like, what is that? So, you know, me and the former host were like, what does that mean? And so the scenario I came up with, I was like, well, let's say you are a woman making $300,000 a year. You meet the man of your dreams, treats you right, does everything right. He makes 55 because he's a teacher. Are you cool with that? And she's like, he treats me right, does everything right. And I was like, yep, fills all your boxes. And she said, I mean, I'm cool with it, but I'm gonna need him to focus on being a principal or a superintendent. I said, why? She said, because, you know, just more status, more money. I said, but in 5th grade, when he kept on failing spelling tests, his teacher sat him down, showed him some tricks to remember how to spell the words. He fell in love with that process and decided to become a teacher, working with children, not principals and superintendents who don't work with kids at all. Working with
administration, right?
And so, is that good enough? And she was like, dang, I guess it's not. So that's what I'm saying too. Like, what is established in that woman's mindset? You know what I'm saying? Does he have to be, you know, top level? You know what I'm saying? Management, CEO, whatever, VP, or just him having a job at that same company. That's the second. I'm saying what's successful.
Okay. So the reason why I asked the question is because from what I have seen and the way that I've interacted with men and had conversations with them, when they are not established to their level of establishment financially, that causes a really big burden on them. And a lot of them don't know how to communicate that. They don't know how to work through that struggle of not being where they want to be. So, you know, starting a relationship with somebody out of love is always a great thing. But when rubber meets the road and it starts getting tough and the man is not financially set where he feels like he needs to be, where he's got a little bit of a cushion in case something goes wrong and he needs a little bit of a, you know, a barrier between him and homelessness or him and being able to keep his lights on. That's kind of why I asked the question. Do you feel like for your child, you would want her to be with someone that is established to their level of comfort where they're able to breathe and be present in a relationship? Or are you okay with them, you know, going through the struggle that a lot of people do go through? And it's like, man, I didn't really plan that out in the future, but I'm here because of love.
Yeah, I think for me, I would teach my daughter not to look at it that way. Just, I think again, you want to get the most out of your man, support him. You want to get the most out of your man, pour into him with positivity. Make him, you know, acknowledge him, show him that you see him. You know what I'm saying? What I've learned recently is women want to be seen. Little girls, they want to be seen. They want to be noticed from their fathers, their mothers. They want to be seen. Like, that doesn't change when we become adults. Make that man feel like you realize you see his efforts. You see he's trying. You see he's in school. You see that he's aspiring to get in school. Help him. Maybe nobody gave him that push. Maybe you're the woman who gives him the push, which is why he's with you. Maybe you challenge him to be better, which is why he's with you. Nobody else ever did that. And so I think a lot of times, like, we have blessings in front of us and we push those blessings away or throw them back in the water because of what we feel is what is good for us. What about what's good for them?
Okay. I definitely agree with that. I know that as a younger woman, I didn't realize it at the time, but a lot of my expectations on my relationship were based on my needs and how that person showed up for me. And I thought I was doing my part to make sure that I was showing up for them, but at the end of the day, I was always the primary beneficiary in it. And I think a lot of women don't consider that, because I really feel like most of us, we deal with replacing our partner with our father, whether they were present or not. We put that role on them on what they should be doing and how they should show up. And that causes a lot of friction because, I mean, like, that's not your role.
Right. And that's what I was saying too. Like sometimes, again, like we are, you know, again, like if I'm looking at the word successful, what does successful mean to me? ABC. You ever see the movie Think Like a Man?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene at the very beginning, very small part of the scene. If you don't, remember or pay attention to it, it probably just goes over your head. But Taraji P. Henson, her character, she's running on a treadmill, and Steve Harvey's talking,
yes.
and he's talking on the TV, and he goes, "So you make six figures? Does he have to?" And she's running. She goes, "Yes."
Yes.
And he was like, "You have the nice house and the nice car. Does he have to have those too?" And she was like, "Yes and yes." So in that moment, she's establishing that success for her is what she has. He needs to have the same thing. Mm-hmm. Six figures, nice house, nice car. Like that's what she needs and her mates. Not, oh, okay, I make $80,000 a year. I drive a nice Honda Accord and I live in a nice townhome in a good part of the city. That's not success to her. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So again, it's like you were saying, like people have to be real and say, you know what, this is success to me. Am I willing to, like bend at all in my partner when it comes to what I think success is for me? Yes or no. If it's no, then you got to just be honest and say, you know what, I'm looking for the equivalent of what I am.
Right. And I also feel like even in that, when women say, I want this level of success, they stop there, but then they are unhappy when the person is not connected. Right. Like in terms of the relationship, you got to also look at what goes into them being that successful. I'm not going to be home Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock. I might not be able to pick up the kids when you want me to pick up the kids. We might not be able to take vacations. And I feel like sometimes women look at it and they say success, but they look at it from this tangible thing, but they're most unhappy with the intangible things not being there as well.
Yeah, and that's a real thing what you said too. Like sometimes, it could be a season of, hey, we got to dial back on these things and grind a little bit more, or maybe I got to grind more, whatever. And then once we get to a place of being more comfortable or whatever, then we can go back to having those things. Like, is that person willing to accept that? Mm-hmm. And that conversation alone will tell men a lot. You know what I'm saying? We'll keep it a buck. The man's going to understand a lot in that conversation. Hey, baby, we can't go to these events you wanted to go to in March, April, and May because, we got to grind and do this, and this. Is she cool with not going to see Beyonce? Is she cool with not going to, see all the movies the Friday night they come out? You know what I'm saying? Like, is she cool with, whatever. Is she cool with not getting her nails done every 2 weeks, but maybe once a month? You know what I'm saying? Like, so we can grind. Like, is she cool with that? If not, that's what I'm telling that man a lot. Because the way he's going to correlate that is, okay, when we're married and we have all the success that she likes, right? Mm-hmm. All the money, all the whatever. What if something happens and this wonderful company I work for goes bankrupt and they got to do 25% layoffs and my department gets laid off? I get a severance package, but I'm now laid off. And so while I'm looking for the same type of job that gives us the same type of money to keep the same type of lifestyle, you might have to help out more financially, or we might have to put some stuff away where we're not doing stuff like that no more. Are you cool with that? Can you handle that? Or can you receive that, or is it going to be an issue?
Getting to the ability to gauge whether your person is going to be able to adapt with changes and financial situations. Do you feel like it's important to choose a person that is similar to how you grew up, or the women in your life, or is it okay to deal with someone that is maybe the complete opposite or not within your normal range of partner that you like the people that you've grown up with?
Well, I think I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but I will say this, right? And the question you asked me about telling my daughter how she should handle the man going through his transition and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I was, established celebrity, fame, fortune, wealth, D. Jones. She grows up like that. The latter part of her life, she grows up having everything she wants and needs and spoiled to tea. And then she meets a guy who has a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what she's used to. So, she knows how to handle that. What if she meets a guy who doesn't? She may not necessarily know how to handle it because she never went through it.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes like the experience you go through, I don't agree that experience is the best teacher, but I do sometimes believe that experiences that you go through do give you some type of knowledge about how to handle a situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can a person say, you should try this with the children and they don't have any children? You know what I'm saying? So I think again, like you know, if a person comes from money, and then they meet somebody who also comes from money, well, they both know what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also thinking about the next generation that y'all might create too. Like, if you know the best of both worlds, then you can help them in either world. If you don't know the best, if you don't have the best of both worlds in one of those worlds, even you can't give them any advice because you never went through it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If two parents come together and they both come from money, and then they have a child, and then that daughter meets a guy who is an aspiring musician, he's struggling, what advice can those parents give her? None, because they didn't go through the struggle. They don't know what it's like to not have no money. They can't tell him we'll try this. Their mindset is probably like, find you a doctor or somebody because he got some money. This guy is struggling. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And that might be the man for her, but you telling her based upon what you have gone through, she should move on. You know what I'm saying?
The reason why I asked the question is because me knowing you, we've had conversations, and you come from a family of very strong women.
Yep.
And that can be very daunting as a man growing up in the household with strong women. Mm-hmm. Do you find that in your lifespan, have you chosen women that kind of mimic that, or do you shy away from that and look for women, or do you gravitate more towards women that are more
opposite of that?
Yes.
Man, I just had this conversation the other day. I think that a lot of times men grow up and they hear or you hear statements like, a man wants to find a woman like his mom.
Mm-hmm.
They say the same thing about women and their dad. And I don't know for me, I've never wanted a woman like my mom. I think that there are some aspects of my mom that are amazing. Beautiful heart, strong-willed, a fighter. Yeah, I think anybody would want those aspects in any person they're with. Mm-hmm. But the totality of who my mom is, shout out to mom, love you.
Right, we can love you, mom. But
you know what I'm saying? I'm saying the totality of who she is. Do I want that in my woman? No. You know what I'm saying? And I think for me, I think this, again, this is kind of for myself. Growing up and as I got older and we started dating and becoming an adult and going through relationships, I never said I want somebody like mom. I just knew I had these non-negotiables and I'm looking for these boxes to be checked.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? If that happened to be somebody like my mom, then it was like somebody like mom. If it wasn't, then it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? I never purposely said I want somebody like them. You know what I'm saying? Because being totally honest, the women in my family are super strong women. And sometimes their aura isn't something that I would want in my woman, because I need my woman to be able to hear and obtain my view and my words. Not more, you know what I'm saying? Not have the it's my way or the highway mindset, or to be a diva, or to be, lacking the capability of receiving, my feelings and perspective, but somebody who knows how to, put pride over here and receive me. You know what I'm saying? That's just something, and that's something I'm sure would be in reverse for her as well. I gotta be somebody who can make her feel safe and all those different things. You know what I'm saying? If let's say, for example, she grew up and her dad didn't make her feel safe,
mm-hmm.
then she's never gonna say, I want a man like my dad. She might think her dad is the greatest guy in the world before she meet her man. But she's not gonna say I want a man like my dad because her dad never made her feel safe. Her priority is I need to be with a man who makes me feel safe. You know what I'm saying? Mentally, emotionally, like I can be vulnerable with him. Like that's what she's looking
for. Okay. So when you look at those aspects, were you intentional about making sure that your daughter did not, acquire those traits?
I think that's a hard thing to do. As soon as I found out I had a daughter, I was just like, man, Lord, if you give me a boy, it would be easy. But I think he gave me a girl for a reason. And I told my mom this the other day, like, I'm very thankful for the village that my daughter has. She has her mother, she has my mother, she has her aunts, she has, even my significant other now. Like, she has a village of women who can help guide her and show her class and all those things she needs. All of which I can't show her. You know what I'm saying? Now there's other things that I can give her that they can't. But, I think as far as like not wanting certain aspects of the women of my family in her, yeah, probably, you know what I'm saying, wanting her to be more open to receiving, a man in a sense. But I think that just comes from the conversation that me and her have. You know what I'm saying? I was telling her literally today, I was like, look, like the assessment you have in other people, the assessment you have of other people, the image you have of other people needs to come from your dealings with those people. Never take the words of somebody else about another person and say that's what they are. That's not fair.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I wanted to teach her and tell her. Like, for example, just for scenario purposes, if her mom says to her, your daddy this, your daddy this, your daddy this, your daddy this, that's not fair.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let her just have her own assessment of me by her dealings with me.
Okay. So I got a couple more questions for you before we,
Great interview, by the way. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that. I try to work hard on it and, tell them to my people, not just asking random questions that just don't apply. But knowing what I know of you and looking at your life in totality, what do you think does more harm? Having an absent father or an overbearing mom?
That was this question first, Marshall. Anyway, which one does more harm? An absent father or overbearing mother? Before I answer that, define overbearing mother.
That can be a lot of different things, but in terms of not really allowing you as a male child, to fully evolve into that manhood without a woman's perspective. Like, having grown up in such a strong household or family of, matriarchs, it's kind of hard to insert your own male point of view in there without them inserting themselves. Coming from a family that's like that, it's really hard to be like, okay, well, you know what? I have to get out of the way in order for me to find out what manhood looks like for me, and how does that play into you in totality? Which has impacted you more?
Do you think also the overbearing mother? I'm just asking. Could it also be like the mother who is like the one that babies the?
Oh God, yes. Okay. It's all aspects. You can be the mama's boy. Okay. You can be the mother that hates every woman that comes into your son's life because now your man who is your son is not available anymore. It's just the overbearing presence of the mother.
Ooh, man. Which one is worse? Let me see. The absentee father or the overbearing mother? I'll say this. I think the absentee father one is worse only if it's the father who is playing double dutch. So, for example, in January, Happy New Year, son. Your birthday's in 2 months. What you want? Okay, we've been talking, maybe once a week over these next 8 weeks. And then my birthday comes and you send me $150 and I can go purchase what have you, right? and then I don't hear from you again until Christmas, and my birthday's in March. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the absentee father who is doing like the big gaps of inconsistency. So you bring me so high, oh my God, my dad's the
And
best,
drop me.
and then drop me so low. And then what happens is the other parent, usually the mother in this situation, has to deal with all those emotions, the tears or the attitude or the shutting down or the whatever. What's wrong? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? You know something's wrong with your child, but they don't feel comfortable opening up to you
Mm-hmm.
to tell you because you are also
You're gonna be
the
mad
overbearing mother. You know what I'm saying? So, if I think that if the absentee father is just absent and never comes back, I think that's an easier thing to deal with than the overbearing mother. But if the father is doing the double dutch, then I would say the father is the more hard to do. That's probably my shortest answer I give on that. I'm trying to give you no speech on that one.
Listen, I understand. I also wonder when it comes to the absentee father, you know, how often do we consider the impact of the overbearing mother as to why they're absent?
Mm. That's a good one, boy. That way,
but you don't realize it until you get grown. The way that the relationship may have shifted or shown up because
I was just telling my daughter in the same conversation we had earlier. I said, you know who Tyrese is? And she was like, no. And I was singing the Sweet Lady, and she's like, I don't know. So I was like, you ever seen that little GIF where you see the black man saying, what do you want from me? And she was like, oh, yeah. I said, okay, that's Tyrese, right? So I said, he got divorced from his wife. You know what I'm saying? For her request, she wanted to get divorced, right? He divorced her, granted her wish. And he wasn't able to see his kids a lot. She was keeping the kids, whatever, not letting him see the kids. His daughter just turned 18 a few months back. And since she's grown, she sought out after her father, started being around her father and just getting to know him on her own accord. And once that happened, she actually reversed it and decided to isolate her mother or distance her mother and be more focused on her dad because her mom kept on painting this narrative of who her dad was and she found out it wasn't true. And so that's another reason why I was saying before too about like not, ruining somebody's image of a person with your assessment. So I think, what you just said with the overbearing mother, not allowing that person to see their dad, that can do a lot. It will do a lot of damage if that's the way the mother's moving. I'm just not gonna let you see this kid or see your kid because of X, Y, and Z. But I will say, as far as the overbearing mother, that's a big one, man. And I think a lot of times, and it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a sensitive subject for some, but you know, mothers gotta learn to not be that way. You know what I'm saying? I actually saw this thing too the other day. It says mothers love their sons and raise their daughters.
Absolutely a fact. As a mother of both,
yeah.
I am 100% intentional about not doing that because it is very easy, especially if we're being honest, if you have daddy issues or unresolved issues in relationships, it's very easy to dote on that male child and say, you know what? I want you to know love and see love, and I want to be able to give this love to you because you are the opposite sex. So I am very intentional about that. That's because I don't think a lot of women even recognize that they're doing it until their sons no longer want that from them. And they start choosing their own partner.
And I think another thing too, I think a lot of, I'm trying to think of his parents in general, but I think, in the conversation we're having, I think a lot of mothers got to realize too, when you were a teenager, we all as teenagers started distancing ourselves from our parents. I can't wait to get out the house, right? You were looking for a way out. College, military, whatever you could do to leave the house, you were looking to do it. What do you think your children are doing? The same thing. So while you're trying to constantly be overbearing
and
inserting yourself in every single situation, they looking for a reason to like put you over there on the table for a little while. You know what I'm saying? That's why my uncle told me this too. He said parents got to realize at a certain age you only give counsel when you are sought after for counseling. And that's a hard thing for most parents to accept, but that's just life. You know what I'm saying? You have to trust the instincts and the morals and values you pour into your child, your children, what have you. But there's gonna come a point in time, even before they are grown and at the house, where they're becoming way more self-sufficient, way less wanting to lay up under you all the time and lay on your bosom and play on your back. They gonna be in their own room watching TV. You'll be like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I know a situation, I'm gonna call them out, but there's a situation where I know a woman, she went to what's it called? 13th floor.
Oh,
Scary
okay,
house.
scary. No.
And she had her teenage son with her, and she was telling me how, you know, like, he's pretty self-sufficient on his own, not always up under her, all that type of stuff. And she realizes that, and she said, but in the scary house, he was all up on her. And she said it actually made her feel good to
still be
be
needed.
wanted and needed, even for that 45 minutes by her son. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a hard thing for parents to accept. It's a hard pill to swallow, but that's just what it is. And you kind of got to give them that space. You know what I'm saying? That you kind of got to give them that space.
Okay. All right. So we are down to our last question, and I feel like this is a really good question for a lot of men, because they don't even really consider it until they sit and they think about it. I'm going to read this statement to you, and you tell me what you think or where you would go with this. If you were told you could have the perfect life, but you can only do so without your ego, would you accept it?
I can have the perfect life, but only without my ego would I accept it. For me personally, yeah, easy. I think there's a phrase that says pride is the devil. I think ego is also like the devil's assistant. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would definitely, if I could have the perfect life without the ego, then I would definitely. For sure.
Okay. So, and the reason why, and I'm glad that you said that, because the other person said, absolutely, yes. And then when they started thinking about it, they are who they are partially because of their ego. Like, their ego allows them to have standards, not to be walked over. You know, they're not like a terrible person, but there are things that would not be allowed simply because you don't get to treat me that way.
Right.
Because, you know, so you would forego your standards of how people are to show up for you, everything that goes along with being who D. Jones is, for a life without one.
Yeah, I think for me, I actually don't correlate ego and standards. I think there's two separate things. I think ego is more of like, you know, like, like, you know, this is what you know what I'm saying? Like, this is, you know, what I'm going, you know, I'm gonna let you know what it is type thing. I think standard is just like.
So you think that there's a difference between, so you associate ego with like cockiness and arrogance?
Yeah, I think, you know what I'm saying, ego is more like, you know, cockiness, arrogance, like a certain level of confidence. I wouldn't put standards in there, not just thinking about it, you know, fresh off you asking this great question. Only because, again, I think, you know, I don't think if I'm looking at water bottle again and saying, hey, water bottle, like, you know, and water bottle is like, well, you know, I want, you know, this, and this. Like, I don't look at it as her ego. I look at it as those are just what her preferences and standards are of what is going to even allow anybody to be in her space and time. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you think about, like, even the song Beyonce Ego, like, she's talking about like his aura, his confidence, how he carries himself, his way, like his.
So all of those things, right, you would forego those things for the perfect life. Your aura, how you carry yourself, how you move in a room, you would forego all of that for a life of one.
You know what? Let me be deep for a minute. I'm gonna say this, right? And as you say that, I'm gonna be deep. I'm gonna say no. And the reason why I'm gonna say no now is because, and this again, me thinking, I'm gonna definitely think about this at the house. I might text you later. But right now, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, my aura, how I am, how I carry myself, who Daniel is, right? In combination with her, how she carries herself, who she is. Like, together, we can have the perfect life together. Now I knew your caveat. You said of a life of no wants. So am I willing to get rid of who I am just to have a life of never wanting anything? What kind of life is that? You know what I'm saying? And who wants the perfect love story anyway? You know what I'm saying? You want to go through some type of, ups and downs. So yeah, I answer my question. I don't think about it no more. Yeah, nah. I'm gonna just keep the ego. And
You know what? And I'm glad because that's exactly what happened. So, yeah. The gentleman, he circled back around. He was like, you know what? Absolutely not. Because who am I without these things? I'm just a shell of a person. So I'm glad that you thought about it like, no.
Now, in saying that too, and hearing what you just said right now, with the other gentleman, I don't know why when you said it about him, I didn't even think about this, but there's a phrase that says, check your ego at the door. Mm-hmm. I will say that even though I'm very like happy with who I am, like my aura, who I am, the gifts that I have, I also will say that I've had to do that too. Like there's got to be some balance. Like sometimes I was too egotistical over here, or not egotistical enough over here, or I was a pushover for this phase of my life, or I was way too much of a pump my chest out on this part. You know what I'm saying? Like gotta be a balance. And I think like life teaches you that different situations make you go through different things. And so, excuse me, I think you gotta have my aura of who I am. So I think it'd be, crazy not to have me. But yeah, that's a great question though. Yeah, for sure. I mean, to have a life of wanting nothing, I guess this is gonna be case by case. I'm definitely interested to hear if you ever ask somebody and they say yeah, easily, because a life of no arguing, basically, no negative in the relationship, no bad period, no lack of anything, no wanting for money, like just carefree. Like
I feel like that would get boring.
That's what I'm saying. Would you get? If I said, would you get bored? Would you be like, oh, just cuss one time, please? You know what I'm saying? Like, leave the toilet seat up. You know what I'm saying? Something to create some type of, challenge.
Okay. Yeah, so. I appreciate your answer, and I appreciate you coming back and rethinking about it and saying, you know what, like, nah, like, who I am is important enough to keep some aspects of that, and these tangible things.
Yeah. I do think it's very important though to have that mindset of while I know who I am, I love the aura of who I am, there are some parts of me that I need
to work on.
Polish, you know what I'm saying? Sure.
Absolutely. So as we close out and we think about the ListNing project, mm-hmm. What is something that you feel like the listeners and people in general should think about and consider when we're talking about men and how we see them and view them, and how can we help make the male experience better?
Oh man, this is a good one. For my doghouse visits. Let me see. So, I would say, I think women need to realize again, very juvenile what we hear as kids. Put out what you want to receive. Mm. Whatever you have communicated that you want to receive from the man, you have to give the man. Not, I'm willing to get to that point at some point, or one day I will give that, or I'm learning how to give that. Just give, because you want him to just give, right? And, we got to give those things: love, compassion, respect. Like, give those things. It shouldn't be something that you have to work on. And I also think too, I would say, is don't let isolated situations like drastically change your demeanor towards him. Mm. I know some women, in general, for anybody, sometimes, he could be baby all day. As soon as he make you mad, now everything is short. What? Yeah, yep. You know what I'm saying? All that type of stuff. Like, you got to think about this. He's a human. How does that affect him?
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? How does that affect him? Would you like it if he did that to you? Mm-hmm. He gets mad at you and no longer are you his queen. You just, hey, what's up? Yeah, I love you too. You know what I'm saying? Like, just brushing you off, almost like tolerating you.
Right.
Would you like that in return? You probably wouldn't. And so just being mindful of those things, just giving out what you want to receive, and also not letting isolated situations change your whole aura towards that person, because then you can force somebody to be in a situation where they're sitting here wondering like which one is the real them.
Agree.
So
Well, again, I thank you very much. I think we had an amazing conversation. I
yeah, for
learned
sure.
some things about you that I didn't already know, and that's always cool to have as an experience. Thank you, everybody, for showing up to the ListNing Project.
The ListNing Project.
And check out D Jones If This Mic Could Talk. Amazing podcast, amazing person, and human being overall. So support whenever you can on YouTube and
yeah, all streaming platforms. I give both the visual and listening experience. So for every episode that you watch on YouTube, you can also listen to it on Spotify or other podcast listening apps as you're driving or doing your commute, working out, whatever. So definitely appreciate the support. I also want to say shout out to Sha-Kiya. Sha-Kiya is the person who's been on my show more than any other person. She's been on 1,000 times. You know what I'm saying? And we only got 999 episodes, so she's been on there a lot of times for sure. I think we always create great content, great conversation. We just bounce off each other really well. So when she asked me and invited me to be on her platform on the ListNing Project, I was running to do it. I wanted to support her the way she supported me so many times.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for showing up, and hopefully you got some great content and some things to have conversation with your people about. Again, let's take care of each other and make the world a better place.
Peace.